So I was gonna do a day in the life, but essentially all I do is sit there, go downstairs and eat, go to the gym and train, come back, and then sit there for another like 10 hours. So I don't think it's gonna be a very exciting vlog. So pretend you've already seen that vlog, because that's my day. But I thought I'd basically just go through a random topic. I thought I'd just go for a random topic and then basically you have some knowledge to take away from this rather than just watching me sit down and work. So yeah, I thought I'd just basically walk through a very... Crush Monster, it's so online, coach. I thought I'd just basically run through a topic which will basically be how to build big pythons. Because obviously I have massive pythons. I don't, but I'm trying. But yeah, how to build big arms. So what I'm going to do is actually just take you to the gym and then basically do a voiceover about how to build big arms, because everybody wants big arms. Okay, so you're back in the room. So we said we were going to talk about arm training, and arm training is obviously it's a muscle group that everybody wants to grow like maximally, right? And I think that most people have a great understanding and idea into how to build like big arms. For someone like me, I've always had pretty shitty arms. I'm turning them into pretty decent arms. Like my arms sit between like 16.5 to 17 inches, which is pretty decent. But they are growing now, which is great. Now, I think that we'll basically talk about like, so arm training isn't just necessarily like biceps, there's also triceps. So what we're gonna do is basically just talk about the exercises that we should have for biceps and the exercises that we should have for triceps. What we should do is sets, reps, and also general exercise selection as well. So, biceps, what's required basically for biceps? Now, when we talk about biceps, quite simply, in the same with triceps, all that's going to occur is going to be through the elbow, right? You got to think the elbow is involved, or the triceps involved in kind of elbow flexion and extension, right? And so the biceps are involved in kind of extension and so flexion, triceps extension, right? So you got to think that like quite literally, all you're going to be doing for triceps and biceps is going to be either curl or extension or some sort of like press with extension as well. You can go overhead as well. That's kind of a good thing with triceps, but essentially like biceps, it's curl, 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 curl in a rope position, so hand position. So you're not going to be able to do too many variations. So essentially you're going to be doing things like dumbbell curl, dumbbell incline curl, cable bicycle curls, like across the body, preach curls, all that good stuff, right? Now, when we look at biceps, we should really be attacking it from two different angles. We're going to be attacking it from a shortened position, and we're going to be attacking it from a lengthened position, and then basically in between that as well. So something like a cable curl or a dumbbell curl is going to be actually just working the bicep in no bias at all. It's actually going to be working it in all of its framework, which is great. Something like a kind of bicycle curl where you've got the kind of cable dragging you back would be more so working the lengthened position. Something like a dumbbell preach curl or a preach curl in general is going to be working the shortened position. So that's basically where I would attack that. Now, very generally, I'd sit between 10 to about 15 sets of biceps per week. Now, you are going to get it hit indirectly through things like pulling, like rowing, lat pull downs, all that good stuff. So try and sit within that framework. Try and go to like 10 for the start, and then if they're not reacting very well, just increase the volume from there. Don't go for like 40 sets expecting you to build some big arms. It's not going to happen. So basically start at 10. And then basically like a simple way of going about this is having it at frequency three times a week, right? 3 sets, right? And that's about 9 sets per week, so around 10. And I would pick something in the lengthened range, I would pick something in the shortened range, and I'd pick something where you basically work the whole framework. So it could be quite easily that you go into the short position on the Monday, for example, you go into the all range in like on the Wednesday, and then on the Friday you could set it up so you're working basically like the lengthened position, so like bicycle That could be a very fucking easy way of going about things. Now, obviously, if you need increased frequency, you would just basically add exercise to one of the days. That could be quite easy. So you turn it from 9 sets per week to 12 sets a week just by simply adding in one more exercise. So that's quite a simple way of going about bicep training. But very generally, that's what I recommend. Things like rope hammers are okay, like dumbbell hammers are okay. Essentially, these are all just going to be variations, right? So yeah, for triceps, it's going to be a little bit more complex because you've got 3 heads. But quite simply, something like a push down and something like an overhead extension is probably going to cover most base. Especially if you go into this position here where you're kind of like pressing this way. A lot of people do overhead extensions and they're kind of like pushing their elbow right back. You kind of want the extension to come across the body. So you want like the cable to be dragging from this area here just to align a little bit better. The same situation in terms of like what we're doing in terms of sets. 10 to 15 sets would be more than enough or more than okay. You can individualize these, so you can have like an arm day if it suits your kind of split a little bit better. I'm personally having an arm day, as you're probably well aware, but that's basically what I'll do. The exercises that I'll run are normally going to be something like a tricep push down, typically one that is allowing you to get short. Now, when people see or do tricep extensions, they pick the smallest attachment known to man, and what happens is that they get into this position here where they're like shoulders are inside this position here, and they get to this position and they can't extend. So generally something like a long rope or a dual rope is going to be more favorable for the triceps. Triceps in anatomical plane will basically sit outside of this range here. So something like that would be perfectly fine. Something like dips or something like a close grip variation, like I suppose it would be a close grip, like Smith press, for example, would be favourable. And then also in overhead planes, so something like a skull crusher, double skull crusher, or something like a tricep overhead extension. That's very generally how you're going to build big arms, is basically just running this situation here within the framework of 10 to 15, within the muscle frequency of 2 to 3 times per week, right? So the sets, the exercise selection, and the frequency, right? And also like intensity training close to failure, then also like progressively overloading throughout time. So don't expect, yep, I've got like 3 times a week frequency, my sets are within that framework, all good. Exercise selection are the ones that you've told me about. Where are my gains? It's like, yeah, you have to progressively overload, and then also over time, you're gonna build big arms. It's not necessarily you're gonna wake up with fucking Ronnie Coleman arms. It's gonna take a little bit of time, much like anything. So yeah, that's basically the main framework of arm training, really. Again, if you are finding that you're running like a push-pull legs variation and you're finding that arms are just getting tagged on to the end of the workout, and by the time you get to the arm training, you're a bit like, I'm pretty fucked. What I would do is actually just run a split where you basically have an isolated arm day, which is again what I'm doing now. I'm running like a pull legs arm day, arm and delt day, then also a pull and a push day. So yeah, then I basically rotate. So that's basically how I structure it. You could basically structure it if you have weak arms. You just provide a little bit more volume via actually having direct work there. So there's a few different options there. Anyway, yeah, this vlog turned out very differently to where I thought it was going to go today. So yeah, I'm going to leave you there. Hope you enjoyed leg training over talking about arms. But yeah, hope you will. And I will speak to you shortly. Alright.